Hey there, second grade. Today we are starting chapter 6. We're going to be starting on page 357. So go ahead and turn in your math book with me to page 357. And chapter 6 is going to be all about adding with hundreds place. So we're going to be figuring out our place values. We're starting at the ones place, tens place, and now we're into the hundreds place. And lesson 2 is where we're starting today, and it is add hundreds. So this is going to be the first lesson that we're going to cover. Now we have covered, like I said, we've covered ones and tens. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at what that means, all right? You can go ahead and keep turning to page 357, but I'm going to go over just a little bit about what this means. So here I have 3 plus 2. And if you remember from before, when we are talking about place values, these are going to be our cubes. So just our small cubes. So here I have 1, 2, 3. And I'm adding 2 more, 1 and 2. So I've got my orange ones and I've got my yellow. All right. Move them down here so you can see them a little better. There we go. All right. So now when I'm adding these together, what I'm saying is I'm bringing them all together. And I want to say, how many do I have? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we can all kind of figure that one out because our ones place is the most basic. That's the first one we've started covering. Well, let's go ahead and kick it up a notch. And now instead of 3 plus 2, I'm going to do 30 plus 10. Now, do you notice my 3 and my 2s are still here, but I've changed the place values. So we are no longer just talking about these cubes. Now we're talking about, I like to call these the straights, right? We've got 3 straights because each one of these is 10. So I have 10, 20, and 30. Now I need to add 20 more to that. So here we go. I've got 10 and 20. So when we do this, now I can say, well, how many do I have all together? Because when I add them, I bring them together. How many of these tens do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 tens is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So 30 plus 20 equals 50. Well, like I already told you, we are going to be kicking it up a notch now and going not just to the tens place, but now what about our hundreds place? Now, when I take a look at this, do you notice my 3 and my 2 are still the same, but now I've changed the place value. I've put more zeros behind it in the tens and ones place. Well, before we get to that, though, let's take a look at what this would look like. So I need a little bit more space because we had cubes are 1, we had straights are 10, and 100, woo, is a big, I call this a flat. And a flat is 10 of my tens. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 groups of 10 is equal to 100. I don't have just 100, I have 300. So there's 100, 200, 300. But I'm not done there. I want to add 2 more 100 to it. So I've got 100, 200. And now when I bring all these together, I want to say, well, how many hundreds do I have? So I'm going to put all of them together, and I'm going to start counting them out. So I've got 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Interesting. When we had 300 plus 200, we just counted that out, and we found that we had 500. When we had 30 plus 20, we found that that was 50. And when we started off with 3 plus 2, we had 5. Well, the 3 and the 2 is the same in all these different ones. What has changed is we've added zeros to change what the place value is. It was no longer 3, then it was 30. It was no longer 30, it was 300. And the zeros can follow to help that out. And that's what we're going to be focusing on during our lesson for today. So would you please go ahead and turn with me to the next page, which is where we're going to get started. And this is page 358. 358. And if you're not there at 358, I'm going to ask you to pause your video right now and get there before we move on, because this is where we're going to be jumping in to start our lesson today. Now, as we go over page 358, whenever I'm going to use my marker and write on my page, I'm going to ask for you to do the same thing. I want you to be marking on your page the same things that I'm doing here. So here we have find 300 plus 400. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look. Well, what they're asking us to do first is they're saying, look at these numbers, 3 and 4. And I've got my 3 and my 4 there, and then the word 100 is behind them. The 100 just means there are 2 zeros behind it. All right. So when I add that up, well, what is 3 plus 4? Well, 3 plus 4 is 7, and you should be writing that with me. And so what they're saying here is we have 7 hundreds. Well, how do we write 700? Well, we put a 7 with 2 zeros behind it. That's how we write 700. Let's take a look at what this would actually look like. Here are my 300s, and then here are my 400s. And when I'm adding these together, I'm counting up how many there are all together. So I'm going to go ahead and just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 hundreds. All right, 700. And the way I write that is 7 with 2 zeros. All right. So when we're adding our hundreds, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. When we're adding our hundreds, we can add what is in the hundreds place and then put the 2 zeros behind it. Because at the end of the day, we're not adding anything. 0 plus 0 is always going to be 0. 0 plus 0 is 0 because we don't have any ones cubes or tens straights. We only have hundreds flats. So now I can say, well, what's 6 plus 1? 6 and then 1 more is 7. So I can find that I have 700. On this next one, I'm going to go ahead and use my flats to help me add this. All right, so here's my 1, 2, 3. I've got 300 here. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 300 more. All right, well, let's count these up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 all together. So 300 plus 300 is 600. And I need those 2 zeros so that there's a 6 in my hundreds place. Does that make sense? When we're writing our hundreds, we need to have the ones place have a 0, the tens place have a 0, and then our hundreds place is going to have that number. Well, let's try number 3 together. Let's do this one without the flats. So I have 2 plus 3, because it's 200 plus 300. Well, 2 plus 3. 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 plus 0 is 0, and 0 plus 0 is 0. So I have 500. Would you go ahead and try solving number 4 on your own? I'm going to give you just a second to try that one out and see if you can solve it. You can do it either of those ways. Sometimes I like to draw a picture. Sometimes I like to go ahead and just start with my ones place and add them, then my tens place, and then my hundreds place. You can choose whichever you would like to. I'm going to go ahead and start off by just starting my ones place. So 0 plus 0 is 0. That's my ones place. 0 plus 0 is 0. That's my tens place. 7 plus 2. I'll start at 7 and count on 7. 8, 9. So I have 900. Number 5 and 6. Would you go ahead and do those on your own right now and see where you're at? And if you're unsure, look back at how we solved these other problems. We started in the ones place, then the tens place, and then our hundreds place. But the shortcut is if I have 2 zeros on both of them, then I know that I'm going to need 2 zeros in my sum. So that's one of the ways that we can do a shortcut here. All right, well, if you haven't had a chance to finish those up, pause right now and you can go ahead and do it. But we're going to go ahead and start off. So I've got 0 plus 0. Well, 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 2 is 6. For number 6, I've got 00, 00. So over here I need 00. 8 plus 1 is 9. So I have 900. All right, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and try out numbers 7, 8, and 9 on your own. Go ahead and do that right now, and when you're done, you can press play and go ahead and we'll go over these together. But right now, go ahead and pause and complete problems number 7, 8, and 9. I hope that you are able to solve problems 7, 8, and 9. And as you can see here, when they're stacked on top of each other, I can look right down. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 1 is 3. For number 8, 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 3 is 4. So my answer is 400. Here I have zeros, so I can just fill those in because I know that 0 plus 0 is going to be 0. 5 plus 2 more, 5, 6, 7. So my answer was 700. All right. All right, well, I'm going to have you go ahead and turn to the next page. This is page 359. 359. And on page 359, you're going to do all of this page. Now, there are quite a few problems on here, but hopefully as we're going through this, you're seeing that we're just adding our hundreds place. Whenever I have those double zeros after it, I can just put those zeros in because we're just talking about hundreds. All right, but I want you to do numbers 10 all the way through number 25, again, on page 359. That is all that we're going to be doing here together for today. I want to say thanks for working so hard, and we'll see you next time.